Okay, we are back with the special conference finals edition of the PHL podcast. This is Tom, and with me is Will.
Afternoon, guys. After Christmas in July or June, rather, for hockey fans, we'll break down a lot of the Western and Eastern Conference semifinals and the Western Conference semifinals, and we'll break down both conference finals and kind of do like a pre-draft review or rumors. Actually, I should say, if only we have the Mr. Gossip down there, but it is what it is. So, Tom, if you kind of want to start us off. Between New York and Philadelphia, and that what should have been the Eastern Conference Finals, but actually turned into like a lopsided victory.
Yeah, it was a good series, like we expected. After Joe took the first game, Kyle came back and blew him out in the second game, and then won by 2 goals in Game 3. So it looked like the Flyers might have been asserting themselves, but Joe made some adjustments, and he was able to win the last 3 games and take it down and advance into the conference finals. Yeah, it was really close. Besides those 2 games, it was a really close series. Game 5 and 6 were both decided by 1 goal, by the same score actually, 3-2. And yeah, it was a really close series. Probably the 2 best teams overall on paper in the Eastern Conference.
Fun fact of for Game 6, I think Game 6, Islanders were down 2-1 after the Flyers scored 2 goals in the first period from Braun and Hoffman, and Justin Falk tied it up or made it a 1-goal game on the power play in the second period. And then it was all New York in the third, with less than 5 minutes to go. Pavelski from Backstrom and Keith, and then when 5 seconds left in regulation, Matt Duchene gets his first playoff goal of the playoffs, assisted by Justin Falk to send the Islanders to the Eastern Conference Finals. And Joe even outshot Kyle 27-15, outshot him in all the periods, most notably the second period, 14-6, then 6-4 in the third. So definitely a defensive game from the Islanders, but the fact that Matt Duchene just kind of gets his first goal of the playoffs and can come at a bigger time.
Yeah, I noticed that the Islanders, after they made whatever adjustment they made, really held the Flyers to a low shot total for the second half of the series, really.
Yeah.
And I really thought the Flyers' defense was going to make a big difference, but it ended up being the Islanders that played better. So, well done, Joe.
And even like looking at like Joe's folks or Joe's guys who have scored and whatnot, everyone has a point with the exception of Kucherov. And Kucherov kind of surprised me, but at the end of the day, it's not like you need him to step up when Falk, Pavelski, Palat, Keith, Backstrom, Tatar, Johnson, Johansson, everyone on this fucking roster, like they just contribute, and especially with only 2 guys, the plus minus with the -1, and everyone else with either with an even or +1 or higher. That's very good. It's very good, and he's definitely made a statement for himself from taking over this team a couple years ago and putting it together.
Yeah, he's definitely he's got a really deep team. I feel like I'm looking at my team because I traded him Kucherov, Tatar, and Forsberg, so it's a little weird. But hopefully that doesn't come back to bite me later.
Yeah, well, I mean, Kucherov's rating for next year is actually pretty decent.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it is. He's very good. By a really high scoring rating, and I think his defensive rating is pretty good too.
Right. The next series that we'll break down, Ottawa and Montreal. This one, I think I picked Ottawa mainly because they had more weapons, and a lot of people, especially Rick and the Canadians, were kind of banking on Montreal. I mean, on Crawford to kind of carry that workload, but obviously he could only do so much with so little in front of him, and Plekanec was kind of nowhere to be seen. So
yeah, it kind of played out how I think we talked about it. How Montreal, if they can't score, then I mean, because Crawford's going to do his thing, and that happened in the first 2 games where Montreal ended up losing 2-1, and
right.
their inability to score really came back to bite them. And after that, it was really all Ottawa with a 4-0 victory, and then Montreal won to not have a sweep, and then
Right.
Ottawa ends up winning Game 5. But yeah, just their inability to score, and I know now that Rick is going to probably be rebuilding that team, which I think is a good idea. He
Yeah.
needs to he needs to get rid of the assets that he has and kind of restart. But yeah, Ottawa just had more firepower up front in the end.
And even like looking at the statistical leaders from the individual perspective, but I mean Stamkos, he does lead the playoffs with 16 points, but just active current players, Sagan, Yandel, it goes Sagan with 15 points, Yandel, Boychuk with 14 points, and then you're Francois Beauchemin with 11 points, and then after that, it just kind of goes down, kind of spread out. I mean, not really many active guys besides San Jose, and I mean, it looks like Ottawa, they have some point leaders, and especially with Sagan, Yandel, and Boychuk, that's probably one of the best pairs, I think, in the playoffs. That's active.
Yeah,
I mean,
they must have like one of the highest scoring defensive pairings right there. I would think
yeah, I think they do.
for the playoffs. But it's kind of interesting that you see like Sagan and Krejci are like +8 and +10, and then Logan Couture is a -8 for Ottawa. So
Right.
maybe the second line needs some help, but you know, just wasn't very. I mean, for me, it wasn't really that interesting of a series. I'm kind of glad Scott won because I think his team's better, and finally Montreal loses when they should lose. So,
Right. So
okay,
the next
yeah, I'll move
series,
on to the Kings and the Sharks now.
yeah, Kings and Sharks. Yeah. So that one, I mean, I was kind of banking on the Kings to pull a Cinderella and kind of beat Jay, but obviously that didn't happen. Just looking at that series, of course, I think I'm looking at yeah, I'm looking at the regular season, so let me get that shit up. Yeah, so the Kings and Sharks, they were tied at one game apiece, and then it was just all LA. Like they won the last three games to win the series. The games were close. I think game five was a 5-3 win for the Sharks, and um, and it wasn't an empty net goal. They scored 3 goals in the first period and 2 in the second, and Kings tried to make a last ditch effort, but just fell short.
And some of those games, the shots were pretty close. Um, let's see, Game 3 where they were actually even. That's probably the game that LA really lost the series because if they were able to steal that Game 3, go up 2-1, then we have a different series. But after they lost that game, that was kind of their best effort, and couldn't really recover from there. But it was a good run for them, I
Yeah.
would say. They beat the Flames in a huge upset. Caused the Flames to make that big trade today for Carey Price.
Yeah, that was a shell shock today. I like the deal. We can get to that later, but I think we both agreed on forums that that was a good hockey deal that addressed needs for both the Ducks and the Flames.
Yeah, I think it's a trade that the Flames had to make. I was looking at their goalies, and I'm like, that's an obvious weak spot for them.
Right.
And I mean, who better to replace it with Carey? Even though Price is coming off like probably one of his worst years, you know, being injured and everything. You expect him to bounce back and get an elite rating.
Right.
So, and for Anaheim, it looks like they are tired of rebuilding, and they're going to start making a push to be competitive again.
Right. And he did make a deal today too with Florida with Jeff. I think he traded the fifth and Anthony D'Angelo, a pretty top defensive prospect. I think. I mean, I don't know much about him, but they got James Van Riemsdyk and I think another piece in that return. So looks like Joe's kind of making a push for the.
Yeah, and he's proven he can do it. He makes good trades. He did it with Vancouver way back in 2012. Ended up winning the cup that year. So yeah, he knows what he's doing.
Right.
Interested to see what other deals he makes to turn that team into a contender.
But yeah, like even like looking at like going back to the series between San Jose and LA, like this could be the Sharks' last year at making a run. I mean, besides Jamie Benn, who's probably one of the best goal scorers in the National Hockey League, the team's old. Like, the team's very old. I mean, yeah, you got Varlamov, but I don't really know what he has left in the tank. He's still he's still good in Colorado, but I think there's been some rumblings of how long he'll be there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like St. Louis, he's done. This is his last year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Chara's rapidly regressing.
Braden Coburn, Mark Stahl.
Datsuk, that's going to be a huge loss. Going to the KHL.
Eventually Zetterberg. Zetterberg's on the decline.
Nash, yep.
You're even looking at Jimmy's prospect pool.
Yeah, it's not much there, really.
Yeah.
You know, like Rocco Grimaldi hasn't really panned out for him. And Robert Hagg, still waiting on him.
All right, so yeah, well, let's finish up the last series, the Jets and Wild. I think you kind of took care of Lois right there, or Louis right there.
Lois.
Oh, he's gonna love that.
Yeah, that was he made me a little nervous actually because he was up 2-1 in the series, so I thought I was due for another big letdown again, but I made a slight adjustment after Game 3, and won that game, and then ended up winning the last couple games pretty easily. And I mean, if you look at the pro team stats, my team is like number one in almost every category, so I feel like I should have won that game anyway, or that series, pretty easily anyway. But hand it to Louis; he knows what he's doing. He's been around for a while, so put up a good fight, but in the end, it's just too much. It's too much for me.
All right, well, let's go on to the Eastern Conference Finals. We got the New York Islanders and the Ottawa Senators. Didn't Scott win a championship a couple years ago?
Yes, he did. I believe he beat Anaheim.
Correct.
That was a weird year.
Looking at that season series, the fuck is that thing? You know what I did? Okay, that's here, do a little bit of this. Sorry, fans. So New York and Ottawa faced each other 3 times. The Islanders took that season series 2-1. Some close games, with the exception of their final game, where the Islanders beat the Senators 5-1. But that was like early in the season, I think.
Were any of the games in overtime?
No, all in regulation.
Okay.
It went 2-0 New York in regulation, 3-1 Ottawa in regulation, and 5-1 New York in the final game. So, I just like looking at the roster. I mean, even like looking at where these teams, like who these teams had to play. Like Ottawa, they played a tough Tampa Bay team. Then they played Carey Price. Corey Crawford. I don't know why. Like, some Montreal. And then they played Corey Crawford. But then you have the Islanders, who played the Flyers. The Flyers, and then the Penguins. And I think the roads are kind of similar. I mean, each team did have to face one tough team, with Ottawa playing Tampa and New York playing Philadelphia. And then a kind of a lower team, New York against Pittsburgh, and then Ottawa against Montreal. But they had two similar roads. It's just, I don't know. I think this could go 5 or 7.
Well, 5 or 7 is a big difference, but yeah. I think that the Islanders' road was definitely tougher because they had to play for the Philly.
Right.
Ottawa struggled against Tampa Bay, which
went 7.
Yeah, it went 7. It went 7 games. So to me, and I mean, Tampa's not in the same class as the Islanders, I would say.
Right.
So, but then again, when the sim, it really is kind of top line heavy. A lot of the production comes from the top two lines. I feel like even no matter how you set your time, it seems like the top line gets the most, opportunity to make shots and stuff. So that's
Right.
kind of what you have to really look at. And, the top two lines it's not that huge of a discrepancy, I would say, in the talent, even though I would take the Islanders.
Yeah, that's just like a fantasy hockey type of thing right there. Like,
Yeah, I mean, the Senators, they're no joke. I mean, and plus the defense as well. They have a solid defense. Yandel and Boychuk, like we were saying earlier, scoring all those points.
they got three quality centers in Krejci, Couture, and Sagan.
And really, the Islanders haven't scored that many goals as you would think in the playoffs so far.
Yeah, I mean, even like looking at like the top goal scorers in the playoffs. This includes the teams eliminated. Tavares, it goes 8, and Sagan of the Senators with 8. Tays of the Wild 7, and then like 4 guys tied with 6, and then 3 tied with 5. I mean, none of them are the Islanders, but if you look at like their positional players, like Joe Pavelski, who Joe has playing a left wing, in 10 games is 4 goals and 5 assists, and I think he had a pretty good series against Philadelphia too. And then actually, it looks like he's been playing on the left and right side. I don't know what side he's been playing on, but
Yeah, I mean, Ottawa has played 2 more games, so I guess we should factor that into account as well.
very true.
But the Islanders have nobody in double-digit scoring, and the Senators have 3 guys well over 10 points for the playoffs. So, although the goals per game favors the Islanders by about half a goal, so
Right.
what do we know?
Yeah, I mean, I think even like when you look at the goalies, because I think we kind of overlooked that. I mean, right now, the Islanders obviously have Braden Holtby, who he's he's going to be like the highest player in the sim rated wise next year. He's got a pretty solid rating. And Scott, he has Antoniemi and Brian Elliott, so I think the Islanders definitely have that advantage in goaltending. And I think I thinking about it, I think New York does take the series in 6 games.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that New York is going to win. The big test was against the Flyers, and
Yeah.
I think they should be able to handle the Senators in 6 games.
Right. Yeah, and I think I won't be surprised if Ottawa, if this series is very close, if each game goes right down to the wire. Yeah, I think the Islanders are on the verge of a dynasty.
Yeah, the Senators are going to need Sagan to really go off for them.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to need Couture to play a lot better than he's played so far.
Right.
Just really their top guys, and then whichever goalie they go with is going to have to play way better than they have played, or that their rating says they can play.
So you're going Islanders too?
Yeah, I'm going to say Islanders in 6.
Okay. Sorry, Scott, but still voting for you.
Yeah, no, it was a good run if he goes out here.
Yeah. So the last the Western Conference Finals, we got Tom's Wild against Jimmy Sharks. You said this is a rematch, correct?
Yeah, it was a rematch from last season's Western Conference Finals. I was actually up 3-1 in that series and ended up losing the last 3 games.
Oh.
So it sucked.
Did you make a couple of adjustments after that? I think you did, didn't you?
Yeah, I traded for James Neal in the offseason.
Yes.
Boschman, I believe I got in the offseason.
Great pickup,
Yager.
as you can see in the playoffs.
What's that?
Great pickup for Bolsheman, because he's tearing it up in the playoffs.
Yeah,
too.
he's been awesome. He might be my best defenseman so far.
And knockout.
Verbata, I definitely got in the offseason, but I knew he was just to be a 1-year thing because he's having a terrible year this year. So,
Yeah, I think this will. I think the key for the Wild, you Tom, just Tays and Giroux stepping it up. Giroux, granted he has 8 points in 11 games. He's also a -1 He just doesn't seem like he's like, kind of appeared. I mean, none of like the forwards. I mean, besides maybe Tays and Ryan O'Reilly, but actually Tays probably better to the three because he's 7 goals in 11 games.
Yeah, and he's taking a lot of shots, so I feel like he should he should be producing more than he has.
Right.
He does lead my team in goals, but
And even looking at your setup, like I'm assuming this is right. Like the lines on the roster page. You have your top 3 lines, 4 for offense and 1 for defense, and then for your fourth line, you got 3 for defense and 2 for offense, and then kind of similar for on your defensive pairings and whatnot.
right.
I'm assuming that's what you made.
Yep. Yeah, those are all my lines that I made. Yeah,
Interesting.
my team doesn't have any guys up front that are very physical or at least known for hitting, so that's why I set them up like that. And my fourth line I treat it as just like a breather line for the rest of my lines, and I put the defense at 3 so they just don't give up any goals. Hopefully,
Gotcha.
you know.
Pull up Jimmy's. Yeah, I mean the Sharks. Like just like looking at their guys. Like I mean you got Giordano and Mark Stone, 2 defensemen, kind of leading the scoring with Mike Fisher in the middle. Rick Nash and Datsuk. I mean, even looking at Jimmy's team, no one has a minus rating. They are either all even or above. Like the numbers that stick out to me, you got Nash, Fisher, and Stone all with a +10 rating, and everyone else is like. It seems like these older guys still have a little left in the tank, I should say.
Yeah, you would expect more from like Zetterberg than what he's done so far.
Right.
They still have Jamie Benn, who could explode at any moment. Really.
And the Sharks have only lost 1 game in the playoffs when they stopped Colorado and.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah,
Although, I
and-
mean, I could argue they've had the easiest road to this point.
yeah. Yeah, I think they definitely had the easiest road. I mean, you kind of had a. You
The
had
Blues are pretty good.
Yeah, you had a very tough road, especially against St. Louis.
I mean, granted, St. Louis didn't have a GM at the time, so
and now
that's
they
a
do.
factor. But
Hopefully, it doesn't make any crazy trades. But yeah, I mean, I like even I actually didn't even pull up the season. Let me pull up that.
yeah, so like during the, I mean, like the playoff rankings so far, I think, my team and the Sharks have been the 2 best teams in the playoffs so far. If you just go by team stats, goals for, goals against, we're both on top there.
And
Shots for, shots against. So
and you guys only have faced each other 3 times in the regular season as well. None of them were overtime or shootouts. You beat the Sharks kind of earlier in the season, or halfway, I should say, in like game 99 or game 512 or day 99 rather, 4-1. Jimmy beat you 2-0, day 160, and then you beat Jimmy 4-1 in day 212. So like towards the end of the season. So some of the scores were a little high, like goal differential wise, but I mean, I think. I mean, who do they have for goalies? That's the other thing I kind of want to see.
goalie, I would say I definitely have a big advantage there.
Yeah, Schneider definitely, and Jimmy has Craig Anderson, who, although I'm assuming Varlamov's been playing, he's 5-1 in the playoffs, and Anderson's 3-0. Actually, let's take a look. I don't know if it's a goalie controversy or someone got injured. I have no clue.
I'm
Although,
not sure.
yeah, Anderson, he did play in Game 5 against LA.
Okay.
And then he did play Game 2, and then Game 1 he did play. So Anderson went 3-0, and it looked like Varlamov, he got taken out after giving up 5 goals, or if not 4 out, 3 goals to the Kings in Game 3, or whatever the hell it was. I don't know who will start. Like, I mean, maybe Jimmy can provide some insight if it'll be Anderson and Varlamov, or maybe we'll see after tomorrow. Or is it West or East tomorrow first? Is it East?
East always.
Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, I mean, Schneider's been the best goalie in the playoffs by far so far. If you just look at the numbers, I mean, his 931 save percentage and goals against of 187. So no one has really come close to those. And the next is Corey Crawford, whose goals against is 2.01.
Mm-hmm.
The 930 save percentage. After that, it drops off.
Right.
So, yeah, I think that's a big advantage for me. My team is, I built my team to be well rounded. So, I don't know. We'll see. I feel optimistic. I hope I can get back to the finals and finally win one. But it's you never know with the sim, and the Sharks are really good. That's why they got a higher seed than I do.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna go. I'll probably go Wild in 6. I think the goaltending will kind of catch up to San Jose, unless if Anderson and Grannon he's 3-0 against kind of a mediocre Kings team. No offense, Cruz. I think the Wild in 6, especially if Giroux and Taves can kind of step up their game.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I'm gonna pick myself, but I would say I think it's gonna go 7. It's gonna
You've done good at that.
Huh?
You've done good at picking yourself.
That's true. Yeah, I've been right every time I picked myself so far.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's all we have for playoffs. You kind of want to talk. I mean, there was some couple trades today. Not even just in the NHL, but in our league. It looks especially from the Arizona side of things.
Yeah, we can look at some of the trades that were made today.
Okay. Or even like the past couple of days. Well, let's see. I didn't know the Islanders made a trade. Interesting. And it actually looked. So the Islanders. I'm just gonna go right from the bottom. To New Jersey, Thomas Tatar. To the Islanders, Kasperi Kapanen and Travis Dermott. It looks like Ron's kind of back. It looks like Ron's back. It looks like he's kind of turning the team around. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
I like that deal for New Jersey.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I don't think the Islanders there was really a place for Tatar, and Joe likes to stay young, and I think Kapanen, especially in the Toronto organization, I think he could have a shot at playing the top 6, maybe a bottom 6 role. Probably a top 6 more when I think about it. And here's actually one that if you look at the Florida Arizona trade for Larson and Landeskog, that deal kind of reminds me today for what the Devils did with Hall. So,
That's true. Actually, I was thinking about that, and I couldn't remember what the trade was exactly that Larson got traded for.
I'm wondering if I'm actually thinking if maybe Peter Chiarelli saw this trade and thought that the Phillies GM was a genius, and that the Arizona actually no, maybe the Arizona GM was a genius, and I mean even this trade kind of caught some eyes, but I think this deal makes more sense than Larson for Hall, in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess.
But it's Landeskog. That's my thing.
Yeah, I mean, people are probably going to think I'm crazy. I prefer Landeskog to Hall.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't call you crazy. I mean, I think Hall's more of a scorer than Landeskog. I mean, I think I saw some numbers today. Hall had like 300 somewhat points and I think like 320 some of the points, like 381 games. I mean, for his age, I mean, I don't know Landeskog's numbers off the top of my head. We can even pull that up. But yeah, I mean that's actually very interesting that we just saw that trade.
Yeah, if I was Arizona, I'd feel good about that because an NHL GM made essentially the same trade. So
right, and this, I mean, I think like this Arizona GM, he's from the VHL in Boston, correct?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's the same guy. Well, even if it's not, like, I mean, this guy, he seems like he knows what he's doing, and
Oh yeah,
yeah.
he is. Yep, I recognize the name.
So the next one, this was kind of I was surprised that Ron traded the second overall pick to Nashville, but I think he got a very good deal. I mean, kind of some more surprise in the Nashville end, but granted, he does have the number 1 and 2 pick in this year's draft, but he got rid of Galchenyuk, who's usually a top 6 center, a franchise defenseman in Hannafin, Nick Bjugstad in the 14th overall, which could turn into a top 6 defenseman depending on how this draft goes in our league.
Yeah, it's a good deal for both sides. I think both sides get what they want. New Jersey wants younger players that are in the NHL already. Nashville just wants to keep rebuilding, keep getting as many quality assets as possible.
Yeah. We didn't see Chris go off on it, actually.
So yeah, Nashville's going to get that elite prospect that they probably want.
Yeah.
Whether that's Austin Matthews or Lane. And I like the New Jersey side if I had to pick a side.
Yeah.
Little biased because I had Bugstad for a while and watched him develop all those years until I traded him. So that's probably part of it. And I think the guy that he gets at 14 is going to still be a really good prospect, so he won't lose out too much in that department.
Right. Yeah, I think, and even like with that PHL gossip guy said about what's his face about Nashville not taking Matthews and instead taking Puljujarvi and Lane. I hope if you're right with it, I will buy you a steak dinner. If I get Austin Matthews, I'll literally lose my shit. I mean, I know that won't happen, but I'll probably like live stream. Like, I'll Facebook Live me jumping off the Bourne Bridge into Cape Cod.
All right, what do we got next?
Arizona and New Jersey. It's kind of I guess it's a hockey trade. Jakob Silfverberg to Arizona, and then to New Jersey, Eric Gudbranson. I think that's a good hockey trade. I mean, Silfverberg, I don't really know much of, and Gudbranson, I think he's a decent defenseman in Florida, in an up-and-coming Florida team.
Yeah, I mean, two guys that are like at the same like point in their career, I guess. As I look up them right now, like I feel like they're two guys that need a change of scenery.
Yeah.
I'm trying to
I think it's. I mean,
Silfverberg. Although, yeah, I guess Silfverberg had 20 goals last year, so yeah, they're both good young players. Good trade,
right. And then crazy how the league was kind of not really in a turmoil. It's just like we were missing like 10 GMs, and then I think I saw like 29 people on today in the past 24 hours.
Yeah, those NHL trades happening, people were all over the place on the boards. It's cool to see.
Trades too. Like, I mean, we had like New Jersey and New York kind of started us off on last week, and we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12, 13, about 14 trades, if I can count correctly. About 14 trades in the past week. Almost 2 weeks now. So, let's the next one. Another good hockey trade. Rick gets Alex Galchenyuk into Montreal. I think it's a great deal for both teams.
I think you just cut out for a second there, but
yeah. I said it was a good deal.
Yeah, it's. I think it's just preference for both GMs. Montreal's probably like, hey, I'll give you Huberdeau if you give me Galchenyuk, and Rick wants his Habs, so there you go.
I wonder if he wants PK now. Let's see. We got the Avs and Devils. So to Colorado, the 14th overall, second round this year, and Scott I think Lawton.
Yeah, it must be Lawton.
Yeah, it was Lawton. I think it was an autocorrect for to New Jersey for Chris Kreider and Michael Stone. I think this addresses both needs. Ron kind of you get some quality players in Kreider and Stone from a defensive side and from a winger side, and Colorado kind of starts their rebuild. But I mean, the 14th overall is still a pretty good pick.
Yeah, it's a good deal. It's good for both teams. I mean, there's Scott Lawton. He's kind of stuck behind some players in Philly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Couturier, Giroux. You know, for top six center status. So, but he plays a PK. He's a good defensive forward for now. Hopefully, they hope that his offensive, side will develop eventually.
Next one we have kind of trade you did. You Wild acquired Jared Spurgeon from Colorado for a first-round pick for next year and defensive prospect from Boston College, Jake Wallman. I think, again, just both needs, Colorado in the rebuild, and you kind of get a younger defenseman to fill your aging core, and Spurgeon's solid. He's a solid pickup.
Yeah, if you look at my defense, I desperately need like a young defenseman. I have like Kronwall, Boschman, Tootin, Sekera, Markov. Those are all guys that are like over 35, I think, or approaching 35. Sekera might be like 30 actually, or 31. But yeah, Tootin is going to be useless next year for me. So I needed a defenseman and I needed a young defenseman. Spurgeon's just entering his prime. His rating is going to be really good next year. Mm-hmm. He'll be a top pairing defenseman for me for the next, hopefully, at least 6 or 7 years, I would think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't really mind giving him my first rounder because I figure it's going to be a late first. And Jake Wallman's a pretty good prospect, but
doesn't really fit you.
What's that?
Doesn't really fit your system, I don't think.
No, and I just, who know, defensemen take forever to develop,
right.
And I'm fine with paying for that now and trying to win the cup now because I know once I blow up my team, I'm gonna be getting a ton of assets. So worry about prospects later.
Right. Next trade we have Arizona and Anaheim. Arizona acquires Colin Miller, the 29th overall pick in the 44th overall pick in this year's draft, and Ducks acquired Nazem Kadri in the 40th overall pick. Again, it's one of those needs. Joel, as we saw today, and we'll get to his trades, he's making some good moves, and the Coyotes are adding a good quality defenseman, Colin Miller, who could maybe play some decent minutes with Boston this year, depending who knows who the fuck plays, and the picks, their picks. So,
yeah, it's a good deal for both teams. Another pretty even deal. Anaheim pays a little more because they're getting the forward, I think, and Kadri's been in the NHL for longer, so it's an even trade. It's good.
The next trade we have, so that trade yesterday, and that trade was yesterday at midnight. And then we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 trades, I think, today.
Let's just go to the major trades.
Yeah, so the first one, after the Kings were eliminated, they sent David Desharnais to Anaheim across a couple hours away for Aaron Ness and Lance Boom. I have no idea who those guys are, but I'm sure Cruz does. And hey, you know what? Keep doing you.
Yeah, I've seen the names before. I don't really know much about them, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like Aaron Ness was drafted 8 years ago, so that gives you an idea of how long it takes for a defenseman to get to the NHL.
Now, Lance Booma, he's a Flames player, center, 26 in the regular season, 44 games, 2 goals, 5 assists. I think he's a third or fourth line guy. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know anything about him, so I don't really want to. He scored 34 points 2 seasons ago, but then I guess it seems like he might have regressed last year and maybe got hurt. I'm not sure.
Yeah, looks like he got hurt. But hey, Cruz has a plan, so for doing you. Next one we had, this is the one I think I kind of touched on earlier, Florida and Anaheim. This actually, Jeff Feed told me on the side that he wanted to be in Anaheim. They confirmed it. This was a done deal for a couple weeks, but they wanted to announce it at the draft, but they want to get it done now. So Florida sends James Van Riemsdyk and the third-round pick to Anaheim for the pick number 5 and Anthony DeAngelo. I like this deal for Florida, to be honest. He's kind of not taking a step back, but kind of going young. He acquires a top 5 player in this year's draft and a very good defensive prospect. And Joel, he gets a top 6 forward and Ben Riemsdyk in a kind of third-round pick.
Yeah, it's a good deal for both sides. Again, I would say Anaheim, like we said, they're going for it. They want to be competitive, and that's another top 6 forward he can slot right in there next to the other guys that he got. And Anthony DeAngelo is a very good defensive prospect, but he was drafted a couple of years ago. I remember him being rated very highly.
Yes.
And plus the number 5, so it's a good deal for Florida. It's a good deal. Anaheim gets what they want, so yeah, it's a good deal for both, I would say.
Catching up on Twitter, see if there's any more hockey news. But next trade we have Montreal and Anaheim. Anaheim in the news. Montreal sends Thomas Plekanec, Benoit Pouliot, and Nick Holden to the Ducks. And the Ducks send Alexander Burmistrov and Matthias Ekholm in return. Kind of surprised with Rick doing this deal, especially with Plekanec and him being a Montreal fan. But I think Burmistrov could kind of fill that void, especially with him being back to Winnipeg.
I'm wondering if he's going to stay in Winnipeg.
I think that was a concern before this year, but I mean he only missed 1 game in the regular season. Let's see what
Well, I really like Ekholm, so he's a very good defenseman. Anaheim gets another really good forward, Plekanec. Pouliot, I don't remember what he did last year. 36 points, pretty good. Not bad. He can fit right on the third line very well, I would say.
Yeah, so, I don't think Burmistrov, I don't think he's going in the KHL. I think that was before this year, before this actual NHL season that because I mean, if you look at the stats, his last season before this year was a 2012-2013 season, 44 games, so like the lockout year. And then he didn't play in the NHL in 2013-14, played in the KHL, and came back, I think, because they got a new coach, Paul Maurice, I think it was, and he kind of convinced him to come back. And that's some decent numbers. I mean,
okay,
that's our young team, and I think this deal could benefit Rick.
I think it's another trade that's good for both. Again, I would say.
Agree. And then we got the Kings and Predators, and all of it. When I saw this, I thought the Predators were sending one of their top picks to one like either the first or second to LA, but I mean this was kind of the Kings get Josh Georges, Patrick Maroon, and Bo Bennett. And the what?
Oh, nothing. I was just laughing. Everyone thought it was Sam Bennett.
And the Predators get Greg Pattern, Andre Nice-Stridle, a third-round pick from Montreal this year, and a second-round pick from LA next year. I think LA wins this deal. I think Matt Sullivan from the Predators, both of them are Matt's, he's kind of trying to unload old guys and get young guys, especially with those picks. I mean, Georges, I think, is the name that sticks out to me. Then maybe Maroon and Bo Bennett's not really the best, but
yeah, he probably figured that's the best he was going to get for those guys. He got a second-round pick, which is nice.
Right.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, Nashville wants to get as many young assets as possible, so works for them.
The next trade, which I think was the biggest trade today, the Flames acquire Carey Price, Philip Klapik, who I think is a Kings prospect. I think I'm actually wrong on that, but I think he's a pretty good prospect. And Taylor Footen, And then the Ducks acquire in return Anze Kopitar, Brandon Dubinsky, and Kerry Lettinen. So this is a trade that you mentioned earlier that this is where an area where the Flames locked in with a high quality goaltender and they get Carey Price.
Yeah, they really had to make a trade like this. It probably hurts for them to give up Kopitar, but Price will probably make a big difference for them. I think I'm trying to see the what the scores were for them against LA in the first round. Yeah, see, there's a game they gave up 6 goals. A couple games they gave up 6 goals against the Kings. A couple games they gave up 4 goals. So yeah, that was probably a big need for them as a new goaltender,
Right.
and because they're going to score plenty.
And they even I think looking at the other guy that Calgary got, Philip Klapik, Ottawa Senators prospect taken in last year's draft, second round, 48th overall. Plays in the queue for the Charlottetown Islanders. He 75 points in first season in 2014-15. The last season, 54 points in 52 games. So it seems he's more like a playmaking centerman, especially with having 42 assists in 52 games each year.
Yeah, he's a second round pick, so he must have pretty good value, I would say.
Yeah, especially in a system with Ottawa, because they usually develop guys pretty well.
Good trade for Anaheim getting Kopitar. You're gonna need that top center to compete, no matter what team you are. So, and then Dubinsky is a nice guy that can be second or third line forward, and then they get a starting goaltender back. So, a pretty good trade for them too. They have to be pretty happy with what they got.
The last trade we have, Colorado and Arizona, I think this kind of drew up some debate about Pavel Buchnevich. I have no idea who the hell this guy is, but Arizona gets him, and they send the 29th pick and Curtis Lazar to Colorado. I think you know more about him than I do. So,
well, I think people are looking at it he's basically trading 2 first-round picks for this guy that was drafted in the third round that's just been playing in Russia for the last few years. So right. I can understand why people are kind of like, what the fuck's going on? But he likes him, so... and I know Buchnevich has really climbed up people's prospects rankings the last few years.
Speaking of Buchnevich, go ahead.
Yeah, because I remember I actually originally drafted him in the third round. I don't remember what year he was drafted, but I definitely drafted him, and I traded him.
I'm on Twitter right now, and the NHL literally just posted a feature from the Rangers. Pavel B, or whatever the fuck his name is, believes he's ready for the NHL. I'm actually going to pull the story up now. 21 years old. Wanted to remain in the KHL last season to get more experience and confidence.
I mean, he was scoring 30 points in the 48-game season against men, adults, professional players, which is it's pretty crazy what he's done in the KHL.
Third round pick, 2013 draft. He wants to come here. It's not like he just said fuck the NHL, I want to stay in Russia, but he's a Rangers prospect, and they will need help. Actually, I don't even know if they need help, especially at the center role. But I think Arizona may have came out looking like champs. Just have to bank on him.
We'll see. I remember when I drafted him, the thing was that he was kind of a boom or bust type prospect at the time. And it seems like he's developed very well since then. So
he has in the KHL 87 points, so 37 goals and 87 points in 158 regular season games, and then 17 goals and 41 points in 31 playoff games while competing in the Russian Junior League. I mean, it is a tough transition, not even just from a hockey perspective, but from a culture perspective. In terms of new country, surroundings, language, and teammates. I mean, it was a tough gig for Ovechkin, but I mean, actually, I don't even know if it was tough, but I mean, we feel like these Russian guys. I mean, look at Alexander Radulov. Like, I think he just signed like a brand new deal in the KHL, or he actually no, he wants like $7 million a year to play in the NHL. No team's going to bite on that.
Right. And so for Colorado, I mean, it's a no-brainer that you would do this trade. You're getting Lazar, who's already in the NHL and could, next year could make a big leap, and then he's getting another first-round pick. It's number 29, it could be higher if I keep winning because it's actually my first-round pick. But you can't lose. I mean, because even if Buchnevich ends up being like a top six forward, that's still pretty good value for a top six forward. So I think Arizona's really banking on him developing and becoming that. So
right. Yeah, I think it was a good day today in the PHL and even the NHL.
Yeah, it's fun. Fun day. Lots of trades. Lots of activity.
I don't know if we'll have any. I don't really plan on moving the third pick. I mean, I don't really know if I should or. I mean, I think. But
well, you might as well wait and see if Austin Matthews is going to be available, right?
Yeah, obviously. If Nashville doesn't take Austin Matthews, then I have no fucking clue. But I'm anticipating getting a Puljujarvi or Lane or Line. But yeah, I think I won't be surprised if we see some teams moving some players get a top 10, top 15 pick in this year's draft, because I think this draft is not similar to last year's, in my opinion, but I don't know.
Yeah, next year's is supposedly a little bit weak, so
Awesome.
I can see people going all in for this draft.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think any news on expansion?
What, for the PHL?
Yeah.
I think we'll just do it next year. I think we'll just add the team next year and just do it like the NHL is doing it. I don't see any reason not to. People will have a full year to prepare, so it'll be similar to how the NHL is doing it, probably.
Yeah, I don't know how they expand. I think I'm more interested in the expansion draft. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I'm in like fucking 10 different leagues, so fucking. But I think that's all I have.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So, I think we'll just wrap it up here then.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll see what happens next week. See who's still standing in the Stanley Cup. We'll probably come back for a Stanley Cup preview, and we'll go from there. Thanks a lot.
See you guys. It actually might be kind of cool. Maybe not for the conference finals, but for the cup finals.
Hold on, I didn't stop recording yet.
Oh, all right.
Bye, everybody.